Okay, good morning, everybody. Um, Yesterday we played Caustic Bronco in like just kind of normal mono black mid range deck, going pretty well. I think we are like 7-3 with that list. And we were talking a lot about trying to play it in this kind of shell. Of course, it's pretty good, just like a solid 2 drop. It'll has the potential to attack and then deal your opponent 15 damage in this deck. We've played a lot of lists around using Witch's Cottage to put a creature with high mana value on top, and then cast Calibrated Blast to dome your opponent. I'm only playing 3 blasts here. I think it's just pretty awkward to draw 2 copies of this card early. Obviously, we're gonna find one pretty soon, but I think I've been pretty happy just kind of trimming down to 3 here. I was also kind of surprised to like end up here in the Death Shadow Shell. I thought like when I started to work on this list yesterday, I thought for sure I was gonna be playing it in the more normal like Leyline Scion shell that we had played before, where Scion Draco has very high mana value. So Leyline Scion, very good at modern. It's kind of not that complicated, but I found that this build was really bad at saddling the Bronco, and I found that this build was also like really bad. Oh, sorry, there were 4 Shadow of Mortalities that I was considering cutting, but like just imagine this with 4 Shadow of Mortalities. It was just not that good at saddling, and not that good at getting Calibrated Blast in the yard. And I found it really awkward that Fable of the Mirror Breaker also like didn't that doesn't saddle the Bronco, because at one point I just had like -4 Tribal Flames, +4 Shadow of Mortality, +4 Fable, and it just like doesn't saddle the Bronco. It's just so awkward. So I was kind of interested in trying to play Death Shadow in the shell after a little bit, kind of largely because I also wanted Street Wraith. So I guess the chain here was I wanted Street Wraith to have like extra like just high mana value creatures to cottage on top without having to like loot them away. Just where like just Bronco attacking and then cottaging this to the top and blasting your opponent for 5 is pretty good. That's not not killing your opponent all the time, but this is a pretty good play. Maybe it'll kill your opponent if you were kind of aggressive earlier. And then Death Shadow, obviously, I think fits really well once you have the Street Wraiths in the deck, where Bronco also like causes you to lose a lot of life, and then just having a 1 mana creature that can saddle pretty effectively is really important. So having Death Shadow to do this on turn 3, turn 4, the saddle turn is really key. And then Inti ends up, I think, being a really, really good piece here, where Inti works well with Street Wraith. Also, to lesser extent, Troll of Khazad-dm triggers Inti, right? Inti also gives trample to your big shadows, and Inti can also like loot Shadow of Mortality away. I was thinking maybe you should play 4. Right now I'm just playing 3 because I wanted to play a 1 of Angler, I wanted to play a 1 of Claim Fame. Maybe a 4th Inti would be better than a 4th Inti just is better than it's just better than Claim Flame. Let's play the 4th Inti. Um I really wanted to play the Claim Flame, but I just looking at it a bit closer. It's just let's just play the 4th Claim Flame. Um Dauthi Voidwalker, also maybe a little bit weird in the deck, but it's like just kind of like the highest quality creature here that can saddle the Bronco. I really wanted to play Dragon Rage's Channeler and Bobble, like even like just the surveilling or like bobbling the top card to see what to do with Bronco is kind of interesting, but they're just this the 8 extra slots is kind of tough here to include. Like if you got Voidwalker for Channeler, you have to like cut the Inquisitions and the pushes for the baubles. I think you're like really light on interactive spells, so I think I'm starting with the non-channeler build for now. Would love to wiggle that card into the deck. So yeah, Inti is a nice little bridge here. And then what's also just very cool is like the Shadow of Mortality in this build is just going to be a very, very hard castable. We have 8 shadows in the deck. Death Shadow, Shadow of Mortality. 2 mana 7/7s can be pretty dang good. Um, the first Gurmag Angler I think is worth playing. Obviously, high mana value for the blast. Going to be 1 mana a lot of the time. All right, let's go. I can see this deck not needing the emotional support Emrakul. It's just better to need it, not have it. You know what I mean? Okay, we have 2 of our cottages in our opening hand, which is a bit awkward. I'm gonna go to 6 here. We have 2 cottages in his hand. Okay, Cottage Magnet today. This hand's not very good either, huh? Found our extra tap line too. Interesting. So is this Collector's Cage? Looks like Collector's Cage. Give me my 7 card hand back. Oh, it's the Fiddlebender build, and they have 2 Fiddlebenders. So the good news is my opponent has Emrakul in their deck. I have Dauthi Voidwalker in mine. Puts down to 14. Although they could probably just like portable hole my Dauthi Voidwalker. Not that I can play the Voidwalker this turn. Just some awkward mulligans. Yeah, I didn't feel like this build was as good as the Convoke build, but I'm happy to see people giving it a go. I agree with the bolts. Any consideration for spells that grab creatures from the deck and put them into the yard to be more consistent plan with Cottage movement? Well, there's only one spell in Modern that does that effectively is Unmarked Grave, and I don't think I would like to put Unmarked Grave into this deck. The idea, I think, is that Street Wraith just puts itself in the yard. Troll just puts itself in the yard. You just don't need this plan so much. Well, if we draw an untapped land, we do have the ability to just kind of high roll a little bit. So if they do cast Emrakul. Lively Dirge. I mean, that card is so high mana value. And you have to remember this is very important. Okay, very important. Also, if we draw a fetch land, we can 15 them. One thing that's very important when it comes to this deck is not only do you have to have a big creature in the yard, not only do you have to cottage it to the top, if you're going with Bronco, you also have to saddle it. And so this deck is really focused on making sure that you can saddle the Bronco. We're playing a lot of creatures to saddle the Bronco, and you just, don't really want to be playing Unmarked Grave with with this plan. All right, let's see if they found the Emrakul. Amaria's Call. So let's see if we had a fetch land in the top two, or Troll. Okay. Did not. So we're down a game against Fiddlebender. Fiddlebender free spells. Bringing in the pushes. Definitely keeping in these Voidwalkers. Let's get the Gurmag. Got Inti 4, probably. I mean, Inti's really good. I guess I could just loot away other Intis if I draw an Inti. Let's trim a Shadow. I don't think I want the Sudden Edicts. Dream about Levators. Yeah, that's true. I mean, some people are unironically playing that card in Yawgmoth. It's... I don't know. I don't have very, very strong opinions on, like, that card being, like, particularly good or bad. But I haven't necessarily felt like it's looked good. Oh, sorry. Obviously, should bring in the Needle. Usually I'm on this side of the board. Y'all hear the thunder? It's thundering like crazy today. What are the edicts for Domain? Edicts are good against Domain, Murktide, Prowess, and they're kind of interesting against Scam because they can't Undying Effect. The edicts are, I think, just pretty good at the moment. All right. Scars the card to the bottom. Fetching in Shocking here, so I could fetch Shock next turn and play my Shadow if I wanted to. Yeah, Bronco could be kind of a dangerous card, but what's one nice thing about this build is that if Bronco attacks and you lose a lot of life, it's not always a downside because you have the Shadows. Thoughtseize and taking Emrakul will be pretty fun here. Inti. I think I'm discarding the Blood Crypt. Okay, can't quite cast that one. Really happy to see someone playing the Collector's Cage deck. I don't think this is the best build, but I do think this build was interesting. Yeah, Insatiable Avarice was kind of an interesting thing. The problem with Avarice with Bronco is, like, it's just, you're not also going to have something to crew. Alright, I'm gonna take this hit. This is surely not Emrakul. Turn Timber Symbiosis has made the cut into Emrakul. Cool. So I can cast Turn Timber Symbiosis. Don't think that really does anything. YOLO! How do a land doesn't cast Emrakul? It casts Emrakul if Emrakul is hidden away. You just get a random card of the top 4. No fucking way, dude. Alright, 2 decks just high rolling. Just, you know. Just flip it. Oh, it's boarded one out. Also, already had drawn or exiled one. There's literally there's only 2 in the deck there. Not what to say. I don't know. I feel like I do want the 4th one in. Dude, it's thundering so bad. I think you should maybe give Athena some medicine. She's gonna be so stressed. I don't know. Maybe wait a little bit, but she's got pretty bad dog anxiety. I'm gonna cut the 3rd Cottage, which is kind of weird, but I feel like it's okay on the draw. There's no room for Scion. We went over this in deck tech bolts, but the Leyline Scion package is pretty bad at crewing the Bronco, and you gotta crew the Bronco. Okay, so I love that this hand has almost everything, so let's keep. We're probably gonna go Thoughtseize into Inti, cycle Street Wraith, flip the Inti, play Bronco, loot away the Inti. This will give us the counter to saddle on turn 4 for the hopefully 15-point blast, and hopefully the Thoughtseize slows them down. Just need a fetch land at some point in this cycle here. Just crew, saddle, whatever, same shit. Okay, snapping off the Sanctifier. The card is very good against my Rakdos Graveyard Focus deck. They do have double Ornithopter plus Hideaway, but I feel like I'm just supposed to... wait. Okay, I guess we're just going to do the second main phase. Okay. But I feel like I'm just supposed to hope to brick on the heights. Especially because I can't Thoughtseize the heights, right? What was I supposed to do? Okay, I'm going to play Inti. But the Opinion Sphere is better than Magus or Blood Moon at the moment. Yeah. It's just like a 3-mana sideboard cards against Titan are just kind of not fast enough. Alright. Uh-oh. This is an Emrakul for sure. Yeah, Emrakul is the only one that they do in blocker step. I know because I did it all the time. Alright, like our 4th double Cottage hand. Okay, Archive, Graveyard, Force of Negation. Blood Moon or Bust. Great username. Thank you for the 11 months. That was a fast subtlety. That was like an unbelievably fast subtlety. What the hell? They're just like, oh, I'm gonna subtlety anything here, brother. Oh, that makes sense. It's all coming together. Wow, man, the rain is going crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna go Inti into cycle Street Wraith. Hit a Bronco. Are the 8 shadows Death Shadow of Mortality? Yeah. Baited X2, thank you for 14 months. Appreciate you. So they have just a subtlety and a force of negation right now. If they're living in this turn, I can push my NT. So this does trigger my Inti. They took the Bronco. That can't be right. Just entombing for me? Okay, they're not living ending this turn. Let's start off with an Inquisition. I'm not really sure what I want to discard, so taking a peek-see at their hand will inform us. Main deck Fairy Macabre into having 2 Cascaders. Well, fair fucking enough. I'm going to take the Ardent Plea since they probably have some lands that they could top deck and not be able to cast the Agent. There's a Dauthi Voidwalker, which is very good here, because now what I could do is I could just push my Dauthi Void if they do draw a Cascade spell here. And the Voidwalker is way better against Living End, now that there's no Violent Outburst. So if they do draw a green source, I can just push my Voidwalker and then untap and use it to cast Living End, killing all their creatures. They sometimes run Fairy Macabre main, apparently. I could also just, maybe just like cast a Waker, get it in the yard. Not entirely sure what's better. I think I should just attack. Just kind of hoping to draw a creature to maybe discard. Maybe. Well, I guess I'm going to Living End again. Yeah, I think that's for the best. Rakava's Common Attack. That's kind of interesting that its main deck is like just like Leyline Scion too tough to beat or something. So they didn't draw another one. They knew about this Fatal Push. Maybe they're hoping I don't know about the plan. Oh wait, I maybe should have let them put this shit on the stack though. Okay, they did put it on the stack. I mean, if they found Force of Negation blue card, that would be pretty tough. The Surveil here. Energy winning list of Nick Fairy is cool. So they're gonna put Charlotte's Agent on top of their library. So I don't know exactly. I mean, I could just do this all day, Don't know what the plan is there. Yeah. I'm about to Living End. Let's put that in the yard. Also, a discard spell is kind of the best draw, just so I have the ability to play around Force Negation. But I guess I'm the Living End player now. Oh shit. Sorry, I don't know why I thought I've messed this up. I needed to keep the Voidwalker on top, cast the Voidwalker, then Living End. It's been a little bit while since I played Voidwalker against them. For some reason I was thinking that this would still work, but no, it's not gonna work. We're gonna lose. Punt. The subtlety your own agent line is so sick. If only I had Claim to Fame still in my deck. Yeah, they did. The last card they did have subtlety. That's true, but I mean, I still made an incorrect play. I have not been practicing for RC Dallas. I've been texting some people about decks, and I will. We'll start practicing. We'll start practicing. To have 2 hearses. We surveil into a land. It's pretty good. I'm gonna mulligan. Keep. Very nice to have Nihil Spellbomb and Dauthi Voidwalker. And real second land, not just the troll now. The format of the RC is standard. Um, and I haven't been practicing at all, but I've been just talking to friends about like what they think is good, and then I'm gonna be practicing. This is finally a deck you can put Croxa into. Probably not. I don't know what you would cut for Croxa. Pack red is really strong in standard. Keep that in mind. It's been too long. I need you to win a Pro Tour soon. Well, I gotta win the RC first. Standard cookie game. We play Lost Jete. I have seen Ash play some cookies. Options Inti, granting trip will come up about every time you attack with a creature with Inti in play. More or less. Play Slick Shot Show Off. The card seems pretty good. That's a hand. Yeah, I'll just take the Fairy Macabre. Seems like I can also probably pretty safely play this. We'll play Modern like 9 months as Scam still the big threat. I wouldn't say Scam is the big threat. Scam is a playable Modern deck. It's maybe getting a little bit better positioned at the moment than it has been. I think the best two decks are like Yawgmoth and Titan with some nuance and a good amount of room for brewing. Creativity's on the uptick. Prowess is like kind of big again. I would say Scam is not in the top 5 decks. But it's like top 10 for sure. Is it Prowess the new Scam killer? Yeah, Prowess is good against Scam. I mean, Prowess is good in general. Creativity's kind of on the uptick. Domain Zoo's still a good deck. You know, one thing about Scam, like how games against Scam play, now, ooh, so I guess now they're just gonna get to Wrath me. If we draw any way to lose life, we could put them to 1. Okay. That's very funny to be cracking a fetch like with Ashiok in play and have it be correct. Crack a fetch with Ashiok in play for lethal. Going to game 2. So like one thing about Scam and like how games play against it is it's way easier to just like get ahead on board against Scam, and if you do that, you're gonna win. Obviously, getting ahead on board of them can be tough because their curve is so low, they play so much discard. But it used to be the case that even if you could get ahead on board, if they just ever like scammed Fury against you, if they could assemble a red card, a Fury, and an Undying effect, they just killed all your creatures and they had a 4/4 double striker, and it was tough, really really tough. But like with they just no longer have this crazy play that just puts them way ahead on board anymore, which I think ends up being a pretty big dynamic changer. All right, let's Thoughtseize them. Grief, Foundation Breaker, Riverwinder. Let's take the Riverwinder. They shocked. I don't know if this is to hold up Besage or if they drew um the 7/7 mana cycler. I don't play the Dauthi Voidwalker though. If I get to untap with it, I get to put it in the yard, and then this will be really effective against them. Looks like those maybe just to hold up Besage. If they found a Cascade spell, good for them. Okay, this also is good for them. Stops me from looping my Dauthi Voidwalker. I still get to use this as graveyard hate here though. So I'm gonna attack with the Voidwalker. I'm going to discard the Bronco, get that in the yard. I'm probably gonna cycle Street Wraith on their turn so I can get the Inti card a bit more effectively. I think revealing this bolt, that's also just gonna be what I should do. Yeah, this is Damping Matrix. It says non-mana abilities of artifacts and creatures could not be activated. And so this stops Dauthi Voidwalker and Nihil Spellbomb and Unlicensed for 3 mana. It does look like a D12, huh? They cycle Street Wraith, down to 9. Legend Rules Boseiju without floating a mana. Potentially wanted to hardcast a Foundation Breaker. And didn't realize they had Boseiju already in play. Then they Grief Pitch Living In. I'm going to go and cycle the Street Wraith, of course. Reveal Nihil Spellbomb that is not really doing anything for us, since there's a Damping Matrix out there. Effectively a blank card. That being said, Grief will give me another Inti trigger. Which gives me a Bloodstained Mire. No slow rolls here. One and one. Got Emrakul pretty hard game 1 by Mono White Collector's Cage. Let's take a brief. So I'm on the play. I think his hand stumbles a little bit too much on the play. Let's go ahead and click the mulligan button. I'm going to keep this and put back the second bolt. I'm going to play a Witch's Cottage tapped and pass the turn. Oh yeah, also stops mounting the Damping Matrix. It's pretty relevant. So up against a Prowess deck. Prowess has been really good. Very cool to see, like, it's kind of funny how history repeats itself a little bit, because like right before Modern Horizons 2, Prowess was the best deck in the format. Now right before Modern Horizons 3, it's one of the best decks again. They do keep a card on top here. I'm gonna go ahead and play the Bronco, I think. Well, I don't know. The Voidwalker, obviously, it's pretty nice against Channeler. I just have 2 Broncos, and I think I need to be getting in. You know, to some extent, they only have 4 lightning bolts, and a lot of times, like, your second threat lives. Although you may not be alive by then. Drawing a land to go bolt plus 2-drop would be a big deal. I think I would be bolting the Channeler. You will live. Caustic Bronco, you're going to live. Yeah, if Inti could just come down and saddle immediately, it'd be sweet. But sometimes you go like turn 2 Inti, attack, counter on it, Bronco, Cottage, Cottage into turn 4 kill. It's kind of convoluted, but at least it's a curve. Okay. Prowess has been good. Got some extra fatal pushes in the side. Got potentially will bring in like a Damping Sphere. I've been kind of, waffling back and forth on Damping Sphere in some builds. The dynamic with the shadows against them is also pretty interesting. The flying on this makes, it kind of harder for you to just play like a giant shadow that they can't attack through, which has maybe been a dynamic this archetype has had in the past. All right, 3rd Bronco. 2 cards in their hand. Wow, so fucking good. Okay, down to game. Pushes in, Edicts in. I think I'm going to cut the Calibrated Blasts. I think that makes sense to just trim a little bit here. I think I'm going to cut the 4th Thoughtseize. Keep the Street Wraiths in. Maybe trim 1 Street Wraith. Although the Voidwalker is also pretty dopey. Don't have to cut all 4. Maybe we could play like 2. Although the Hearse is also pretty good against them. So Nihil Spellbomb's okay. do something like this. I think we're going to be a little low on Sattlers for the Bronco is maybe the problem. Still have the 8 shadows. Let's just do one more Voidwalker over the Nihil Spellbomb. Do every hand, 2 Witches Cottage. Okay, keep this one. Back second Lightning Bolt. Opponent's on the mold to 6. So are we. Easy and Holy Heat there. So there's Mire, Steam Vents, and I'll have a couple mystery cards too. They graveyard Underworld Breach, which means that they must just have 2. The mystery card must be a spell. Even like why are we graveyarding Underworld Breach? I don't when we have Bauble Channeler. I'm gonna go main phase, just the removal spell here. Baubles themselves. I guess their hand could the spell that they drew could have just been another breach. That would make sense. They also cracked fetch we didn't know about, so the hand should still be Steam Vents. Mire, potentially last card is Breach. I don't think I need another removal spell here. Lemon Jello, 25 months. Thank you. Welcome back. You're doing well. Draw another card off the Bauble. Drew a Sudden Edict anyways. The deck thinks we're gonna need this. I guess I'm just shocking the Blood Crypt. Since we have all these shadows in the deck, we're probably going to do this anyways, and then holding the push-up is not irrelevant. Inti does not immediately die to a bolt. The hand is Mire, Steam Vents, 3 mystery cards. If they do have Underworld Breach, like we're worried about, then being able to go Breach, Heat, Bauble would be pretty bad. It's kind of hard to play around, since a lot of times they just play 2 copies, and they've already played 1 here. So it seems like I was wrong about that read. Tomio's safekeeping your last Light Pulse deck. I mean, it seems worse than Surge of Salvation, but I don't know. The deck was also not very good. Okay, we'll accept this outcome. Plan to Cottage back Inti, I guess. Taking 1 could actually just end up being kind of fine. Not the biggest deal either way. Okay, down to 11. Gonna Cottage back our Inti. Hopefully it lives. Yeah, the Promise builds do usually play Mutagenic Growth. I think you should absolutely play 4. I think I see lists playing less than 4, and I'm like, usually you know usually feel like they should just definitely be playing 4. The Unholy Heats in the main are actually or I guess it's a sideboard, but Unholy Heat in the main is usually a tell that they have less than 4 Mutagenic Growths in the main. Iteration is a good draw. Yeah, Mutagenic Growth is so crazy. And it's like it's really especially good because it protects your show-offs from red removal spells. So 3 cards in their hand. I'm very interested in getting this Inti outside of Bolt range. So at least put it outside of Unholy Heat range. Oh, we hit another push. It's funny. Draw push, hit another push. Some weird distribution today. Definitely want our opponent to have another creature. I'd love for them to just go like Slick Shot Show Off. Dart me, dart me. Putting Gigantha in their hand is also acceptable. The Soulscar Mage. Taps, floats a red mana, then plays a Steam Bends, then Lightning Bolts. Well, can't saddle it at the moment. But I'll play my Caustic Bronco. They kind of had to tell that they had like a Spell Pierce there or something. Right, hopefully they forget Gigantha. Sweet Gigantha, so easily forgotten. See if they're playing a Surveil Lane. Seems like Surveil Lane has become kind of stock in prowess. It's been very hard for me to like decide. I feel like if it's correct or not. I think I'm still anti Surveil Lane and prowess, but it does seem like pretty borderline. Okay. They still forget about Gigantha. This is a little too expensive here. I'm going to go ahead and attack and discard it. It is, kind of nice to have one in the yard for future Bronco Blast. Although, it doesn't necessarily seem like that's the direction this game will go. Okay, well, a little short of just casting that. Yeah, Saddle 2 instead of Saddle 3 would have been a real big deal. The card is just, like, playable already. I feel like Show Off made Prowess tier 1. I think it's very close to tier 1, if not, just de facto tier 1. Show Off to some extent was like even more than what the deck needed, where like the deck needed just like one more really good threat, and Show Off is like even better than just a really good threat. The card is like just phenomenal. Wait, I attack with my Inti. I discard my basic swamp. I draw a death. Oh, maybe. A Witch's Cottage. So this costs 4 mana right now. I think I'm going to not put anything on top here, since if my opponent bricks, because we're kind of dead, maybe if they chain some cantrips together, but so assuming they don't kill me here, I'm just discarding any card that I find to Inti to force a double block. So like putting Shadow on top just to like be forced to discard it doesn't make a lot of sense, because it's possible I could just draw like Lightning Bolt and just bolt them. I know Death Shadow is more on theme. I find myself wanting to just grief scam in this list since it's a better threat. I mean, I would love to grief scam as often as possible. It's the best turn 1 play in Modern. Fitting this 8-card package into the deck is probably a little bit harder than you think. Also, like if for me, Inti is like really mandatory. If we're playing Shadow of Mortality, which I think you really want to, like Death Shadow is like also just a card that is just good in the deck. Simply put. Maybe overthinking it a little bit. So now I'm not forcing a double block. I think I'm still, I think I'm still doing this. Finding a removal spell could, yeah, I only have one Fatal Push left, but we've got Lethal Bolts. Then you have to put Shadowless. I think Shadow is a good card in this deck. I but also like there's been a lot. The main suggestions I think I've heard so far today have been. Oh, my punch is okay. Okay, I guess that was lethal. Didn't know about the trample. A lot of people have suggested like let's play Channeler plus Bobble. Let's play Grief plus Scam. Like these are packages of cards that were like you can't just cut Shadow for Grief plus Scam. And you can't just cut, you can't just cut Voidwalker for Inti plus Bobble, but also like Shadow is like almost uncuttable. The card is just one mana. We're playing Thoughtseize, we're playing Street Wraith, we're saddling. Like the card needs to stay in. Okay, going to game 2 on the draw. I think I should cut another a Cottage on the draw actually, since my curve is lower because I cut the blasts. Maybe I should be a Troll instead. Yes, Scion Leyline is like the yeah. You could also do that. That's also been the suggestion. Scion Leyline. I found like a lot of issues with the Scion Leyline list. We went on over earlier, but of course, all of these plans are reasonable. But like actually getting a functioning deck together is a different conversation. No threats. I think we can just kind of easily take this iteration and try to use the hearse to contain the breach. They drew a Preordain for turn. They put 2 cards on the top. Their hand is land, Slickshot Show Off. Could be kind of nasty. I think I'm just gonna get a basic swamp. Doesn't seem like that can really go that badly for me. Street Wraith is the only bad Inti reveal. I mean, there's also Troll, and you know Shadow is not always like super castable. But you know, Troll and Street Wraith work well with Inti, so not the biggest numbo there. Alright, their hand is Underworld Breach, Unholy Heat, Mutagenic Growth. Glad that we... I guess I'll exile Bolt and Growth. Glad that we got the Swamp. And our Shadow of Mortality is pretty dang castable. Alright, this turn, pretty clear. Bolt, Shadow, since we know their exact hand. Unholy Heat, Underworld Breach. There are 2 cards here. Shadow's a 9/9. Could maybe percent lethal. Yeah, I think we have lethal if we draw a land. Fetch land at least, where we can go Edict, Shadow, Crew, and then it would have to be a land that deals me some amount of damage. Okay, I'm gonna exile the Show Off, I think, where if they go like casting the Hasty Threat can be kind of bad for me. I think more relevant than any other card. So we don't draw the land. What do we lose to? We know their hand is, again, Underworld Breach, Unholy Heat. Neither card is very relevant at the moment, but I think I'm just always going to go Inquisition plus 2 drop this turn. The Channeler is pretty scary, kind of abstractly. I think, you know, they could potentially, like, I think the main way we lose is we cast a creature and then allow my opponent to go, like, cantrip, like preordain through the hearse into like lava dart for lethal through the hearse. So I think I'll just Inquisition the Breach, which is not a very scary card, but more relevant than the Heat, and then Sudden Edict and attack for 9. And then we also just have 2 lethal attackers for next turn. Okay, and they can see. What if they have Bolt? Well, we know their exact hand, so a little bit harder. Okay, we are 2-1. Got Emrakul pretty hard in match number 1. Sounds pretty close. Sounds not that close. Or not that good, but probably gonna keep. I'm kind of surprised Caustic Bronco hasn't been ruled out still. Ruled out like, you think the card sucks, or what do you mean? I like Bronco. Ooh, so Show Off Burn. Someone top 8 a challenge with Show Off and Burn and Channeler. We were talking about this, and they said that they were listening to the stream, and they're just like, all right, let's try it. And holy shit, is this hand terrifying. I'm just gonna take their turn 1 play. Bronco's seeing like legacy and vintage play. It is just a 2 mana creature. Like this is the thing about like we keep talking about this. Like Outlaws really is the set of like revitalizing 2 mana creatures. Your bar is people's bars are just too high. I think it's like um I don't know like it is a 2-drop you have to untap with, but you know in a deck with discard spells, if you untap with it's fucking sick. We'll get the theater. The theater. But it's just like people put too much pressure on the 2-drops in general. It's like your 2-drop does not have to just solo your opponent and win the game. I think we play the Bronco. Hopefully they didn't find a land for their Searing Blaze, but then if their hand is all spells, it isn't exactly ideal either. Yeah. Slick Shot, Bronco, Satoro, Magda. There's like one more really interesting 2-drop, I think. But lot of good 2-drops from the set. Kind of wonder if the old Inti deck would be good with Bronco. Mana cost of the deck was absurdly low. Yeah, Bronco's kind of funny because you kind of want it not to all be really low. It's kind of weird, right? Okay, getting burn pretty bar. I don't have any dedicated burn hate in the board. Maybe we should. That just at least the Boros Charm. We do have the removal spells, and like the idea is, you know, classic like shadow versus burn dynamics. I'm not sure. I think we also want the edicts against them. I'm gonna cut all of the Street Wraiths and then trim a Calibrated Blast. Meet 17 months. Same with the 21. Thank you. Welcome back. A 3-drop on the other hand is most likely input. Yeah. 3-drops if they don't impact the board, you can just never play them. But you know, it's like, you know, compare this, you know, to other 2-drops that you know see play in Modern. You know, right? Maybe Dauthi Voidwalker is one of the few exceptions to the rule. But no, it's just okay for these to be a little fragile. Can you explain what makes Bronco that much better than Bob? I'm guessing control on what you draw probably makes this extra secret knowledge. Well, okay, so Bronco has 2 toughness in the Ren and 6 Lava Dart Orcish Bowmaster format. The second point of toughness makes this card go from unplayable completely to considerable. One toughness 2 mana creatures are these really are like just not cards you can consider playing almost. That's about how drastic it is if your 2-drop has 1 toughness, and it's not Orcish Bowmaster itself, it just kind of isn't playable. Dude, they're playing Lava Dart. Cool. Okay, I think I'm gonna take the Channeler. So that's 1, but also Caustic Bronco can deal the damage to your opponent sometimes. And that he deals damage to your opponent instead of you. That goes over there. That's where you want it to be. And there's it's not necessarily that complicated. Bronco deals the damage over there sometimes. That's a great place. That's a great place for the damage to be. This is literally just red white prowess. I mean, they're playing Boros Charm, Skewer the Critics. These are burn cards, not prowess cards, right? I mean, they all it's a little bit of a hybrid. It's a little bit of a hybrid, but like the lines are a little muddy. I agree, but I would it's definitely feels like a hybrid. How do you manage your life total on a Fed Shock format? It depends. That'll be $5 a month for the rest of your life. It depends. Spike. Okay. I think if I just draw nothing, I'm just gonna main phase. Ooh. Main phase the blast. I guess we did not draw nothing, so. Have I tried Caustic Bronco and Asmogoria Shell yet? I haven't, no. I think it could be kind of interesting in that deck. Would love for them to draw a Slick Shot show off. Yeah, it's life total control. Yeah, no, I get it. I get the idea of why you would want to play Bronco in that deck. Bolt's the Inti. Mine, like, they could have just put both those bolts at me. We have 3 life right now. I almost like thought there was no chance they had another bolt if they were bolting the Bronco in that spot. Right, I'm at 6 life points. Why sudden over shielded? The split second matters a lot against Domain Zoo. They can't Stubborn Denial. Against Scam, they can't Undying Evil. Against Prowess, they can't Spell Pierce or Respond and get triggers off of Channeler. And I'm not really going to be boarding in Shieldred's Edict against mini decks with Planeswalkers. Sheesh. Yeah, so definitely kind of interested to see, like, their build is way more prowessy than the top 8 challenge list. Pretty cool. Will we get a Thunder Junction review before Image 3? I don't think so. Full Flip seems way too slow for constructed. Ward 2 is fucking crazy line of text, you know? I remember just like when we kind of discovered how good Patrick was, I went through every single card with Ward on it, and there are just very few. Ward is like a really powerful mechanic, and I think if a card has the word Ward on it, you really need to look at it twice. So Forest Bauble Pass, probably a free starter lookout deck. Maybe not. Get a basic island. Yeah, unfortunately Bronco hasn't dealt us 15 yet. Is there any archetype or card you're particularly interested in brewing or innovating on? I mean, I mean that's kind of all we do, right? Is that question is answered every day. Of I just play what I'm most interested in, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily plan too far ahead either. I pretty rarely have more than like 24 hours, more than like 24 hours at a time. I know what I'm playing the next day. Greater Reunion seems great in this deck. Filling up grade and hasting Broncos kind of decent. You have to cut creatures, which is most likely. So yeah, this is the problem. This is the problem with like a lot of like the packages of cards. Like if you play Grief, Undying, you have to cut creatures. You play Bitter Reunion, you have to cut creatures. If you play Leyline Scion, you have to cut creatures. If you cut creatures, your deck is going to be a lot worse at saddling the Bronco, and Bronco just doesn't do the thing if you don't saddle it. Yeah, and then Inti kind of is a creature that can saddle and also works really well with Street Wraith compared to the Bitter Reunions. Have I seen the free starter coffers list? It's probably my list that you saw. We streamed it like all day Monday, and it was really good. We 5-0-10-0'd with it. Seeing card redeemed. Okay. I'm never gonna bolt myself here. I think it's kind of weird, but I want to cast this. Harvester is a really good suggestion. I like the Harvester. So Harvester might be better than Voidwalker. It's good with Inti too. I definitely like the suggestion a lot. So I'm gonna discard the Angler since we're gonna have a hard time casting that through the Relic. Living in matchup gets worse. Maybe it's still okay. Well, I didn't Thoughtseize first to play around this, but I could just put it on top and then flip it and then cast it. Thoughtseize first. Take the Typhoon. Play the Inti. Check this out. I think Your brewing work is diminished on how good of a gamer you are. It'd be easier to spot the best decks if they could win with mediocre play, but you were just too good. Well, people say this a lot, right? People say this a lot. I just win with mediocre stuff, and or I win with bad decks, but I'm just so good that I can win. You know, the cards don't do anything differently in my hands than they would in yours. Um, but it, you know, again, it is also, you know, it's not about that, I guess. Like if your play is mediocre, like I guess we can't really cottage anything for value here because they'll just pop the relic. They'll target this, maybe they'll pop the relic anyways. Yeah, but yeah, it just isn't about that, you know. Just isn't about that. And you know, you can also, you know, just watch and see like you can kind of determine like what you think about this for yourself. It doesn't have to be this. I feel when I hear people say like, oh, Spike's decks are bad, but he's just really good, which, you know, which is a summary, not exactly what you said, but something people say, just kind of lazy, you know, just lazy. Like does just not taking any deck individually by itself, just like not really trying to analyze any strategy, just trying to like explain it, you know what I mean? But like obviously like we're not going to come here with like a new revitalization of like modern decks every day. I do think we had a big breakout with the lookout decks recently, but you just kind of have to evaluate each deck individually. Some of these decks are going to be good, some of these decks are going to be bad. um I do like enough like losing on this channel, and I do enough like getting wrecked and like really and like really just not succeeding on some strategies to know that it isn't just all uh skill diff. Okay, so let's get in with the Shadow of Mortality, I think, and just this. And they shouldn't have too many removal spells for my Inti. So maybe if we discarded the Bolt, we could have cast the Street Wraith here. Troll's Theater. But brewing is about learning. It's about learning, it's about exploring, it's about understanding what you can and what you can't do in a format. And for me, that's what it's always been about, and it just isn't about like winning and losing. It isn't about, you know, it's obviously really nice when you break it sometimes, build something really that is maybe the end goal, but learning and understanding is way more important because that's how you just continue to grow and continue to uh make your brews better and better. You have to play the bad stuff, and you have to learn the bad stuff in order to get to the good stuff. Like it's very important to get into the trenches like this. Okay, down a game. Or sorry, up a game. My brain also doesn't fucking work. I'm not. I'm just a normal guy. Click and submit. And I forgot to sing. Troll of Khazad-dm. I'll keep this one. I really feel like my opponent has Free Strider Lookout in their deck because they're playing Relic, and they're playing Bauble, and they're playing green. I really want to figure out a Lookout Force Negation deck. Still haven't done that. I guess Subtlety also commits a crime. So obviously their Relic is kind of wrecking my Cottage plan, but you know we would be able to, in theory, Inti discard Shadow, Thoughtseize, and Bronco them the next turn. Didn't think they had that much removal. But also we maybe get to have Bronco kill us here. which is something I really wanted to have happen. There's an Enigma Jewel, 3 cards in their hand. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'm like super content if my opponent pitches Subtlety here. I guess if they draw an untapped land and they can just hardcast Subtlety as a blocker, maybe it's kind of awkward. They pop the Relic in response, which I think is good news for me. They do Subtlety pitching for, so I'll go ahead and keep this on top. Mazemind Tome, good draw. I wonder if that was what they drew off the Relic. Then inform them that they should Subtlety. It's just better to... Because I could have played Shadow for 4 mana. It's probably better. But I can also Shadow and Saddle next turn. Is there a good reason to run Mazemind Tome over Bank Monster? The 3 life matters a lot in Modern. The 4 life matters a lot in Modern. You could play Bankbuster instead. I don't have very strong feelings about it, but it would be for those life points. Gonna go just get the last Blood Crypt here. So this should cost 3 after I shock. I guess I can just play this one first. I guess I could have also just... I couldn't have played both Shadows, but I could have saddled the Troll. Right, well, let's just flip a Shadow and blast them. Okay, another Bronco. This costs 3. I'm going to play this instead of the second Bronco. It's just too good against the Simic deck. Probably should scry first. I think they should tap this tome and then draw almost always here. It's nice that this each opponent loses life gets through the One Ring. Nice little tap Breeding Pool. It does feel like outside of the One Ring, there's just not a lot they're going to be able to do. Let's see if this is allowed to go on top. Could have Subtlety here. I'll like bait the Subtlety out with the Caustic Bronco, since I want this to saddle the other Bronco. Go Bronco, go. Still have lethal on board. We'll see what my opponent has. Typhoon for 1. Chump the big Shadow, take 7. Yeah, I don't know. Let's get a poll going. So I do think Blood Tithe Harvester is a nice suggestion to play over the Voidwalker, because especially with the discard synergies. So we could do that. We could do another league with this deck with the Harvester, or I also want to get to should be this Jund Scapeshift Pillage the Bog with Pillage the Bog. Cut the Magnas and cut the Wishes for Pillage and Fatal Push. The pushes, I think, are going to be really nice. We should maybe even do like 3/3, but like Fatal Push is just so good in the format right now. 3 push, 3 bolt. But I also found that like you just don't really need Wish in this deck because if you could just pillage into Dryad to kill your opponent most of the time. Obviously there will be some spots where you can't just kill your opponent. But I found myself not wanting Scapeshift or Wish at all. And then you could still get to play Giganta, but just pillage the bog in the Crime Valakut Shell, cutting the Magda. So I think that this build has been looking very promising. So we're gonna pull for what to play next. Bronco with Harvester, Jun, Crime Shift. Little 3-minute pull here. Yeah, we could. I want to do Turn Timber Symbiosis and Collector's Cage. I think it's pretty interesting. At the very least, it seems like probably pretty reasonable to. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Cut the Mistress Factories for them. Okay. Let's put this on top. The 3 lethal attack or 4 lethal attackers here. They can gain 4, so I guess that will answer one of this. Is Epicer better than Harvester because it's low in the mana curve and also makes token? I think Harvester is better because it saddles the Bronco, would be my guess. Why are there no copies of Scapeshift and Jun's Scapeshift? Well, it isn't optimal, I think is why. At least in this build, I think you just kind of would be lower to the ground with the ability to, like you just pillage into Dryad and just kill, or look out, you just kill with these cards. You just, like in the other builds, like we just very rarely would win with Scapeshift or Wish Scapeshift. It happens sometimes. But I board them out. I was boarding them out almost every single time, and I found that like with pillage, like you also just don't need to like be able to pillage into Scapeshift because pillage into Dryad or Lookout is just like oftentimes enough. And I also like really wanted to play more 1-mana removal spells. I'm kind of torn on like 4 bolt 2 push 3/3 4/2 maybe even and Push's favor because Push is just so good right now. It's just that card. So we're going to deal them 6, and then we have another Bronco trigger coming here. Okay, and the 6 was good enough. So let's see how what the poll's doing. Okay, John's Crime Shift winning by a lot. I think that makes sense. Like, you know, we 3-2 this league, you know, 3-2 is... Like, with Bronco, we've got like 3-2, 3-2, 4-1, 3-2, which is like very high win rate, like above 60%, which, you know, in Modern when you're brewing is pretty hard to do. But I agree that this deck is like, this deck could just be fucking broken. So maybe 3/3 because Bolt commits crimes more often. Yeah, that's why I would want to favor Bolt, is because Bolt can finish your opponents off, which is like really important. And then we just have the